Hi, my name is Mia Thomas, the owner of Royal 504 Traveler, and today we are going to go over two things that I get a lot of questions about. Number one, how to manage an invoice when more than one person is sharing a room, but they're paying separately. And the second thing that we're going to go over is how to embed that invoice into their itinerary. So let's get started. And we're going to assume that this is two adults who are sharing a trip that costs $6,000 total. So $3,000 belong to one person and $3,000 will be paid by the second person. In this scenario, I've already created the invoice. The first client's name is Javon. I've created my own invoice number. You can title your invoice however you would like. And I have itemized the breakdown of the trip. The hotel portion for Javon from June 15th through the 20th of 2027 is $1,950 for one person. The flight is $600 for one person. The food tour through Viator is going to be book now, pay later. That's $50. There's a sunset party cruise, all inclusive, excuse me, which is book now, pay later. And there's a private luxury transportation. That was $100 per person. And they did choose, or this person chose the classic plan with Allianz for $150. Of course, you would just insert the resort name here, but I just put the name, the view, whether it's all inclusive, and the dates. This is how I personally break down mine. The item name is just a generic title where the description is a little bit more detailed, but nothing too much, just enough for it to be identified as identified as what it should be. So you can choose to have this line by line broken down when the client views it, or you can click this to hide it so that the client only sees 3,000. So if I unclick this and show you, and let's see, I'll make sure it's gonna actually open it. Okay. As you can see, the client can see the cost of each piece. That's when you don't have it checked. When you have it checked and they preview it, they just see the quantity and then the overall total. So we're going to stick with this format. And at the bottom, the way that I schedule, you can schedule month to month for a certain amount. I personally do the deposit and then I allow them to pay the remaining balance up to whatever final date that I share with them. And if I'm including excursions, I separate that so that they know that Viator will automatically charge it. So just to kind of break down what that looks like, this $800 deposit in this scenario, the client has already received the proposal. I have already included a credit card authorization in the amount of $800. And that $800 credit card authorization is going to cover the $50 deposit per person, the full cost of the flight, and the full cost of the insurance. I'm going to also take that credit card information and go to Viator and put the card on file and choose the book now, pay later for these two excursions so that on June 4th, the charge will be made. In real life, the charge may be the 15th or a little bit later than that, but I'm going to give the client this date just in case they need a little bit more time. And I will set a task reminder either here or under the task and automations for this trip to remind me on June the 2nd to remind the client that they're going to have $200 charged on their card on June the 4th. And that is for the 150 and then the tour for 50. All right. So now that you've set this up, you are going to place your terms and conditions wherever you want to place it, whether you're attaching confirmation of the flight, the booking, the excursions, whatever you want to choose is what you would attach here. Or you can list your terms and conditions and any details that you need them to know here. What I typically use this for is anything that I want the client to see every single time that they make a payment. So for me, I want them to always remember the details of their trip, but you would put whatever you want to put, not details of the trip, but anything that's like cancellation specific that they need to be reminded of so that it's always there. but you can choose to use this however you want. Okay, so what we've done so far is each client, they're sharing a room. They both have approved their room. They both have paid or filled out an $800 credit card authorization. At this point, I have gone to the supplier of choice. I have paid and secured everything that this $800 was supposed to cover, right? So that has been done. Now we're going to fast forward. After that has been done, we're going to send this over to the client. But because each of them have it, I made one for the first client. The only thing I'm going to do is duplicate it, keep it within the trip, and then I'm going to now have a second invoice, and I'm going to drag this up so that I have it closer to the top. Right, so this is for Javon. This invoice is for Joy. Oops. Okay, so Javon has one, Joy has one. As you can see, I only worked on one itinerary, one invoice. This was simply a duplication. Now, if something is different on Joey's than it is on the other person's, you can always just edit and make those changes however you see fit. But if it's the same, you're just going to duplicate it, right? So we're going to hide this because Joey is not going to be handled any differently than Javon, but I'm only going to demo Javon just because you're going to do the same thing. And I don't want to accidentally hit the wrong one. So I'm going to hide Joy for now and come back to Javon. And I know that I'm clicking on the right thing because it's navy blue. That's how I know what I'm clicked on. But we're going to send this over to Javon. You must send the client their invoice before you can get anything to embed it into the itinerary. You have to send it to the client first. You cannot skip over that part. All right, so we're going to send it to the client. I'm going to send the client a saved message that I have, uh, which is this invoice serves as your deposit payment confirmation. Please look for another email with your itinerary. Check your spam. Thank you. I look forward. Blase, blase, blase. So what I typically do is before I send them the invite with their itinerary, with their approved itinerary attached with all the final details, I send them their invoice. You can choose to copy yourself or not. For this example, I will not. So I'm going to send this over to Javon. Immediately after you send it to the client, you must click on this authorizations tab. It will not be there prior to you sending it to the client. Once it's sent, you click on the authorizations tab, and since the client paid the $800 with the credit card authorization, I'm going to click the three dots next to this deposit for hotel, flight, and insurance, and I'm going to mark it as paid. As of now, if I do not mark it as paid and send it over to the client still shows that they have to pay $3,000 and they've already paid 800. So we don't want them to see that. Remember, this literally takes 2 seconds, but I'm talking through it, so it's a little longer. So I'm going to mark this as paid. Now you're going to see that the status is paid. 800 was due. 0 was authorized because the client did not authorize this through the invoice link. It was through a credit card authorization. So it's always going to show 0 if they did not approve it through the actual invoice process, which is this process of them clicking their actual amount. But as you can see now, if I hit preview, now it shows that the remaining balance is $2,200 and that they've paid 800, which is correct because they paid their deposit today of $800. So now, because I chose to allow my client to make custom payments through May of 2027, there's a few things that I've saved myself from. I've saved myself from having a task list of reminding the client when their payment is due because they can pay as frequently as they choose, right? Now, if you have any standards that says, you must make a monthly payment or each payment must be at least this amount. That is something that you should place in the terms and conditions so that it's upfront and visible the entire time. But if that is not your requirement, then don't worry about it. So for me, in a situation like this, I may, because it's so far out, it's basically a year out for the most part, I may wait 6 months in or 4 months in and on the trip actually create a task reminder that says, um, check payment status, right? And I might put this, we're in July. I might say in October, I'll go ahead and send this to remind me to reach out to the client. And I may put a note if client has not made an additional payment since deposit, check in with them. And I'll put a reminder. Right. So I use automation, but I'm not big on having a whole bunch of lists. Every trip doesn't require the same thing. So as things come up in my head, I use this as a sticky note or a task list for me to know what I need to do. All right. So we have identified the cost of the room. We've given Javon her invoice. We're going to do the same thing for Joy. I would just unarchive it, but in real life, you would just do the same thing for Joy. So what happens is once you've sent it off, once you've gone to the authorizations tab and you have marked the deposit as paid, because remember, they received a credit card authorization in their decision flow when they approved it. If you want to see a video on that, I do have that. You can click on you can scan the QR code that's on my behind me once I stop sharing my screen, and there's a video on decisions that you can take a look at, or you can just type in Travefy, my name, and then look for the video. So after you have done that, what you're now going to do is go to that client and you're going to go to their contact and you're going to go to the email tab. And as you can see, today is July the 14th, and I did send this invoice to that client on today. So you're going to click on this. Now, if you have been following some of my videos before, you know that maybe 6, 7 months ago, I started sharing how I was doing workarounds in order to get links inside of the itinerary. And it was a longer way. It was copying something, CCing yourself, and then copying this. Disregard that. This is a cleaner, easier, simpler way to get that done. And it's not going to show your IP address or your email. It's actually going to show the client's IP address and the client's email. So you have sent it off. Remember, we're here. So let's go back. You have sent off, you have marked it as paid. So now you want to go to the contact for that client. And this is the client's actual URL that they're receiving. But because you have a history in your Travefy, you can right click where it says view invoice, and you are going to copy the address link or the link address, copy link address. You're going to click that. And as you can see, it shows copy. Now, we're going to go to the actual trip. We're going to hit edit. And on the left-hand side, I have a couple sections that I add after my client has approved their proposal and I have sent them their invoices. So this is like my final step. So prior to this, they get the check-in, whatever's on the itinerary. But afterwards, I send them a what to do next section. Another question that people will talk about is how to get clients to use their apps. I have to do that in another video. But I do give them a what to do next section and a start here. And this is kind of a brief synopsis, but it is a let's discuss future communication. So I do let them know the different ways of them to communicate with me. I just put option 1, 2, 3, 4 for this demo. I actually have stuff here, but I don't think that's relevant because everybody has a different process. So I left what I feel is relevant. The second step is for them to locate the invoice authorization link section of this itinerary to authorize upcoming payments, which is here. right? And then I have information about the app so they can get a demo on how to do it. But you're going to create a section. If you're not familiar with how to do that, within the trip that you're on, you're going to hit the three dots and you're going to add a section. And when you add the new info section, it is going to go at the very top. You are going to name it. Whatever you want to name it, whatever is going to be your go-to name. So now you have a section, and within this section, you are going to add information, which is what you see here within here. These events is the information. All right, so I'm going to delete this. I just want to show you how easy it was to actually add it. You can, whenever you add a section, it's always going to say information and documents, just change the wording. But I have saved this in my library that when I type it in, it's just going to upload everything for me. So if I type in what to do next, as you can see, I have this link. And when I click on it, it's just going to move it over right here. All right, so this is my full one that I actually use. I'll delete that one. This is the one for the demo. All right, so now we have the authorization link section you've made. And I can't remember if I copied this, so I'm going to recopy it. Copy the address link. And when you create the section that you're going to make, I title it the client's name just so I can visually see which client this is for. So since we sent this to Javon, I have a preset message that says, please view your invoice to authorize all upcoming payments. Authorizing your invoice is not making a payment. It is only authorizing me to pay your supplier using your card. Please ensure your card is not locked and funds are available for up to 24 hours of you successfully authorizing the payment, right? So this link right here that says authorizing the payment, if you click on it once, you can see the little cursor, and then click on the insert link, you can replace any URL that you already have there with the client's invoice link that we just copied. So all I did was click on it and replace it, and you have to hit update unless it will not save. So for example, let's just say this wasn't here and you were doing a new message for the first time, and it may say, make your payment here. I'm doing something shorter just for demonstration. You would, after you do this, you would double click the word or click the word, whichever one. Click the link and paste the link that you have. It click the link icon and paste the link and then hit insert. Because you're not, this one said update because there was already a link inside of it. If you're putting a link in it for the first time, it's going to say insert, right? After you're done, you want to tag your client. The reason you have to tag your client is because if you don't, everyone that client may possibly share this link with will be able to see their business and their payment, and that's not what you want. So we're going to hit done, and I use classic editing to get the tagging feature. So as you can see, Javon has Javon's name tagged on it. If we preview this, and I make this the main itinerary. The main itinerary just basically is another word for public viewing, meaning it is not specific to anyone. But as you can see under the invoice section, which I'm under here, when I chose the main itinerary as a public viewing, that's basically what that is. As you can see, Javon's link is not there, but Joey's is because I have not tagged Joey yet. Javon is the only one that's tagged. So the way I like to explain tagging is look at it as a VIP wrist at a resort, right? If you don't have this wrist, you can't see what's inside. So if I don't tag you in this section, or if I tag you in this section, it's for your eyes only. If I don't tag anybody, that means anybody can see it. So I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. We're gonna get out of this, right? So actually, let me go back. Let me preview. And this time I'm going to change it to Javon's view. Javon has a customized tag now because I've tagged her. When I go to Javon's view and I go under authorization link, I can see Javon's and that update that I did, as well as Joy's. Because remember, Joey's is public. It's not just private to anyone. Only Javon's is, but we are under Javon's view. So if I click on this authorization payment, which is what your client would click on, as you can see, it's going to be Javon's invoice with the remaining balance of $2,200. Javon will be able to make either the next custom payment, which is $2,000, or Javon will be able to customize the amount and say, I only want to pay $500 this time. And then Javon will put the card in, add the payment, move to the authorization, and keep going. All right. Now, going back here, remember this is the second one we did. Same link, same process. So putting the link one place or the other doesn't change the information of the content. It just changes where they see it. All right. So I'm going to go back, remove this, because that was just to show you how to add it if you don't have a link. And then if I were to send this to Joey, if I were to go back to get out of my trip, go back, if I were to unarchive or show the archives and then unarchive Joey's and then send it to Joey and copy the link and put the URL into Joey's section, then Joey's would be tagged as well. But for this one, I can tag Joey, but I didn't update the invoice. It's actually an old invoice, so I could do it, but I don't want to confuse anybody. So if I do Joey, now we have Joey tagged, we have Javon tagged. If I preview and I go under the main view, which is AKA the public view, as you can see, nothing is there because the only two sections under this selection or this section of the itinerary were tagged to people specifically. So since I am looking at the public view, I won't be able to see all of those details. All I'm going to see is this with nothing on it. But if I change it back to Joey's view, now Joey's link is here. If I change it to Javon's view, now Javon's link is here. So hopefully that was not too confusing for everybody. Hopefully that gave you a better insight as to how to separate invoices so that people that are sharing the same room can actually pay separately, how you can still utilize the invoice for Viator excursions, especially if they're doing book now, pay later. If they're doing book now, pay later, you just have to know which date, give them some cushion. So if it's going to be charged on the 15th, maybe tell them the 10th so they can have some time to authorize it and they don't lose their excursion. So we've done that. And then how to embed. You are literally sending the invoice first. You have to send the invoice first. Send the invoice first. Go to the authorizations tab. Make sure you mark paid whatever was solidified in that amount so that that is deducted from their overall amount. And then you have to copy that URL by going to the email tab within the contact, copy that URL link, that invoice link, and embed it into the itinerary. And once you get them to using their itinerary, either the link or the app, that should take a lot of work off of you by resending anything that needs to be sent. So hopefully this is helpful for you. I don't know where you're going to see this, but you can always click scan right here to get access to the CRM website where I have other videos and other information. If you want to schedule a one-on-one with me, there is an option for that. You would have to tap on the menu box at the top right and schedule the one-on-one, and then we can meet privately. But thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.